I'm going to keep this honest and low-key because the last thing you need when you're deciding whether a laptop screen extender is worth the extra $200 is another hype-filled sales pitch. If you're on the fence about turning your single-screen setup into a 3-monitor workstation, you deserve a review that tells you exactly how this thing behaves in the real world, the good, the annoying, and the moments where it finally feels like it earns its place on your desk. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation most people have with a portable screen extension is whether it actually adds productivity or just takes up more desk space. The EXSHUING 15.6-inch screen promises plug-and-play connectivity via USB-C and HDMI, a 360-degree rotation, and a lightweight frame that you can fold flat for travel. In practice, that means you can slot it between your laptop and a coffee shop table, flip it to portrait mode for a long code file, or swing it around to face a second viewer during a video call. The versatility is genuine, but the payoff depends on how you use it. If you spend most of your day on a single screen, scrolling through spreadsheets, swapping tabs, or reading articles, you'll quickly notice the extra screen real estate. Imagine having a trading platform open on one monitor while a news feed streams on the second, and a chat window on the third. The EXSHUING panel's 1080p IPS matrix reproduces colors with 100% Srgb coverage, so chart lines stay crisp and UI elements don't bleed. For coding, the ability to keep your IDE on one side and documentation on another cuts the amount of Alt-Tab you have to do by half, which many of us have confirmed saves minutes over a day. In that scenario, the extender feels less like a gadget and more like a genuine productivity boost. On the other hand, if you're primarily a gamer, the story changes. I tested the screen with a mid-range laptop that already pushes a 1080p panel at 60 Hz. When you add a second identical display, the GPU has to split its output across 3 monitors, which inevitably drags frame rates down. In my case, a fast-paced shooter that usually ran at 80 frames per second on a single screen dipped into the low 50s once I had the EXSHUING panel active. That's not a deal-breaker for casual play, but if you chase high-refresh competitive titles, you'll notice the performance hit. The panel itself can't do more than 60 Hz, so it isn't a bottleneck. The bottleneck is the laptop's graphics chip trying to feed 3 displays. Another practical concern is heat and fan noise. Adding a screen means adding another component that draws power. When I ran a 2-hour video render using the laptop's CPU, the extender drew about 6 watts via the USB-C link. The laptop's fans kicked up an extra 2 to 3 dB compared to a single screen setup, which is barely audible unless you're in a quiet room. For most office environments, that extra hum isn't a problem, but if you plan to work in a library or a shared co-working space, the cumulative noise could become noticeable. Portability is where the EXSHUING really shines. The chassis is built from an aluminum-filled polymer that feels sturdy enough to survive a backpack drop, yet the whole unit weighs under 2 pounds. You can flip the hinge to lay it flat, slip it into a laptop sleeve, and you're ready to set up an instant triple-monitor workstation on the go. The 360-degree rotation is more than a gimmick. When I switched to portrait mode to read a long PDF, the panel stayed in place without wobbling, which is something cheaper pop-up monitors often struggle with. The adjustable height also let me raise the screen to eye level without raising my chair, reducing neck strain during marathon coding sessions. Where the product falls a bit short is the lack of built-in power delivery. Because the screen draws power from the laptop's USB-C port, you can't charge the laptop while you're using the extender unless you have a separate power brick. In a purely mobile setup, say, you're on a train with just one power outlet, you'll need to juggle charging cables. That's a small inconvenience but worth noting if you plan to rely on the extender for long sessions away from a desk. Who should consider buying this? If you're a developer, trader, content creator, or anyone who regularly works with multiple windows, the EXSHUING 15.6-inch screen adds genuine value. The ability to keep a reference monitor on the side while you code or trade saves you countless minutes of window hunting. The fact that it's plug-and-play means you don't have to mess around with driver installations, just plug the USB-C cable, and you're ready. For remote workers who need a second screen for video calls, the portrait rotation is perfect for keeping a participant list on one side and the shared screen on the other. Who should skip it? If you're primarily purchasing a laptop for gaming at high frame rates, or you already own a dedicated external monitor that meets